You are listening to the Postcast, presented by the Locked On Senators podcast and the Glebe Central Pub. Make sure you check out our friends at the Glebe Central Pub for awesome food, great drinks, live music every Saturday, and the SENS Shuttle $17 round trip to and from the CTC. Sue gets you there and right back to the pub after the game. I'm Ross Levitan, and we have for the first time ever the entire Postcast crew. I'm Ross Levitan. That is Brandon Pillar. We've got Lalime's Martian and Jack Richardson. My nephew, Noah Zelikovitz, is standing by for a boots-on-the-ground report. He was at the library in Toronto watching a 3-0 SENS win. Pilsy, as we start off every postcast, how'd you see this one develop?
Whew, that was a nice game to win, boys. Ullmark gets the shutout. The Ottawa Senators keep the Scotiabank Library quiet on a Tuesday night Battle of Ontario. 3-0, the Ottawa Senators win. And again, another defensive clinic up against an Atlantic Division rival. So I'm feeling pretty good right now. And welcome, all four of us, to the Postcast. For the 592 people in the chat, this is going to be a vibecast for the ages.
It certainly will. The shutout, Linus Ullmark's first as an Ottawa Senator. Enormous performance from him. Made a lot of those saves late in the game. Martian, at what point did you say, okay, this one's in the bag?
Probably right after the second period ended, Ross. I think the Leafs just kind of ended up going away in this one. That second period was a hell of a start for the Sens, especially after they come out of a couple of games ago, blowing it basically at the start of a period. And they came out of this one hot. 2 quick goals coming out of the gate there in that second period. They're up 3-0, and then it was just lockdown time, and they did their jobs out there tonight. It was awesome.
Jack, what'd you see for this one?
I think the same thing. I mean, honestly, what stood out to me was the fact that they came out so strong again. It just reminded me of what we saw at the end of the game against Boston. And I think right then I just had a bit of confidence. There's some swagger to the team now that we didn't really see in longer spurts. Like, when was the last time we saw the Sens carry over an effort like that from another game? You know what I mean? It feels like every time they kind of get them in these spurts, they have these periods here and there, but I can't remember another time where they've gone game to game momentum, and they did it. Those are 2 huge road wins for them just to get the monkey off their back. 3-3 in November now. They're cooking 2 in a row. Just an awesome game. And I haven't even touched. It was the Leafs. We hate the Leafs. It's great to beat the Leafs in Toronto, in the library, like you said, Ross. So that was just a clinic from start to finish from the Sens. Topped off with a Linus Ullmark shutout. He was great in the third period.
So much to get into for this game, but finally, for the first time in 9 games, we can update the stat. Shane Pinto returns to this game. Senators win. They're now 30, 15, and 3 all time when those 3 centermen, STÜTZLE, Norris, Pinto, are in the lineup. Now let's head to the heart of enemy territory where we catch up with my nephew, Noah Zelikovitz. Noah, what's up, buddy? How was the game tonight?
Oh, man. The game was fantastic. Honestly, shout out Linus Ullmark. First shutout of the year, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. That was unreal. Couple nice plays in front of the crease there. But honestly, guy on my jersey, you can't see it right now. There he is.
Oh,
that guy right there, Tim STÜTZLE. I mean, the physicality that he played with. I watched him go in on the forecheck, hitting people. I mean, the shots on goal, I think he had 4 or 5 tonight. And then the goal, obviously, to put us up, I believe it was 2-0 at that point. And it was an unbelievable atmosphere. Leafs fans pissed off everywhere. These Sens fans that were in attendance tonight, there was a lot more than I expected. So that's great to see here in Toronto with the boots on the ground here at Scotiabank Arena. Go Sens go, man. Let's go.
No, was it quiet there early in the game, or was it when it got to 2 or 3-0 that it really quieted down? Because you could literally hear fans breathing through the play-by-play mic in the second.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, after the first, the fans were still into it. It was only 1-0. When Tim scored that goal, 2-0, and then right after Mario, 3-0, I think it was probably, a minute apart, maybe 2. I couldn't really tell just being there. But after that, fans were just quiet. You could hear the Sens fans trying to start some Go Sens Go chants. Obviously, we don't have, that presence here, but still heard it in the stadium. And then once we went up 3-0, once that power play came on too at the end of the third period there, the fans were all trucking out, and it was just a beautiful Sens victory at the end of the day.
Billsy, got something for him?
Oh, that was a good boots on the ground report. Thanks, Noah.
That was
Excellent,
perfect. Thanks,
excellent.
Noah. Appreciate it. We got you there. Make sure to be loud on the subway back to your area. We appreciate you for being loud, and go Sens go.
Yes, sir. Go Sens, go, baby. Let's
Yeah,
go.
there he is. Noah Zelikovic here on the Postcast. All right, Pilsy, let's get into the nuts and bolts of this game. The Ottawa Senators come out that first period. I felt like they dominated the period, and that power play that the Leafs had at the end of the first, I was like, oh no. First off, what a brutal first tripping call on Nick Cousins. The guy literally just lost his balance behind the net. And if they score at the end of that first period, you lose all the momentum that you spent all period building.
Well, Ross, I kind of thought like the penalty wasn't going to be on Cousins there. It should have been on Hamonic, who absolutely destroyed Ryan Reeves with a cross check. I was shocked there wasn't a penalty there, and that would have been classic Hamonic getting a penalty on a fourth line enforcer. But Cousins gets the penalty, and yeah, it's so huge that they were able to stop that because, Ross, you and I know far too well the Ottawa Senators are constantly losing games because they're allowing key momentum goals, and then they can't get the momentum back. Well, this time it was the Ottawa Senators with momentum goals. They get a goal 41 seconds into the game. Josh Norris, absolute laser. And then they score their second and third goal 42 seconds apart in the second period. So the Sens were getting goals quickly. They played a great defensive game. And then, just like good teams do, shut it down, get an opportunity, bury it, and then continue that smart, responsible defensive game. And Linus Ullmark's got to be sitting there being like, that was one of the easier shutouts I've had. As sure, he gets 27 shots and had to be strong at the end, but the Leafs didn't really generate any grade A scoring chances in this one.
I think with Ullmark, it's clear that he's comfortable in these kinds of games, right? Which sounds easier said than done, I think, right? Where a goalie, obviously a goalie prefers to play with a lead, and it's probably easier, but you're getting a lot of shots at some point when someone's got a lead, right? And he played a lot of these games in Boston. He didn't play a lot of these track meets where it's goals here, goals there, like the game in Vegas, really. But he just looked comfortable, man. He looked so solid. And I think you're right. Like those, there were a couple plays there maybe in the first period where if they squeak by, it might be a different game. At least get some momentum. I'm not going to say that the building gets going because Scotiabank Arena doesn't really get going. As Noah was telling us, there was a library, like Ross said earlier. I keep saying that because it was funny. But it is a library. But the thing is, I think with Ullmark is if he can get comfortable in these games, the Sens are going to get comfortable playing with him in these games. And they already are, it looks like to me. That's back-to-back nights here where he hasn't had to be the star, but he's still, like, one of the takeaways for me is how good he was. It's kind of a weird, I don't want to say I forgot what it's like having a really good goalie in net for the Sens, because Forsberg has had moments. He's been good this season too, but Ullmark's elite, and it's a different kind of game when you've got a goalie like that back there between the pipes.
Exactly, Jack. He's in a rocking chair back there, and he just, he's there when you need him to be, and that's all you can ask from a starting goaltender. That's all we've ever asked. It's like guys like Matt Murray, guys like Korpisalo, they come in here, they sign these deals, and they're just not able to be solid, and that's all you need to do. It was a shutout for Ullmark tonight, but I wouldn't even say he was incredible. There was a few late saves, a few great saves on a power play, but pretty easy shutout, as you said, Jack. So yeah, absolutely.
And not only that, but the fact that he was able to keep it locked down late, because that's when the Leafs had their last big push. Not that it would have mattered in terms of a win or a loss, but to keep them at bay when they had the goalie pulled. They had a couple grade A's around the net, and he was just ice cold, collected. And this is the type of outing that's going to give your team that much more confidence and have him got to play again, right, on Thursday against Philadelphia.
Keep it rolling. Yeah,
Just
that's what we need to see from Ullmark, because sure, he goes 24 minutes without a shot against Boston, but gets the big overtime save. Doesn't get challenged like a whole lot in this game. Gets the shutout. You have to give him that opportunity to keep that momentum going, especially as a number one goalie. So, hey, Forsey's got him beat in shutouts, which is hard to expect, but Linus Ullmark is the hot hand right now, and he deserves another start, in my opinion.
Linus Ullmark needs a lot of love. Adam Rogers needs a lot of love. Appreciate it. Adam saying that Kenzie Lalonde needs a huge shout out. Ottawa's finest, Stittsville native, played for the Ottawa Lady Senators, and now she's calling play-by-play in the National Hockey League Battle of Ontario. Friend of the show, reached out. Of course, she's had a busy day, but we will be getting Kenzie back on the pod. She is a friend of the show. On the other side, plenty more to break down from a 3-0 Senators win. We haven't even gotten into the analytics, which just laugh at the Maple Leafs in this one. Was Mitch Marner playing? Can the chat let me know if Mitch Marner actually played in tonight's game? Because I'm pretty sure that he makes as much money as, like, I don't know, the Sens top, at least the top 2 players. Isn't he making $16 million cash this season?
More than their entire bottom 6.
You could get 2 Drake Bathersons and still have room for Mitch Marner's salary, or for another guy after 2 Drake Bathersons.
Can the chat, while I hit the Glebe Central Pub ad read, how many Adam Gaudettes would it take to get to Mitch Marner's cap hit? Because give me Adam Gaudette in tonight and for the rest of the season. Let's go. Today's episode is brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. The Postcast is always brought to you by the Glebe Central Pub. That's why we can ride with 800 of our best friends after Ottawa Senators games. Whether we vent or vibe, we do it because the Glebe Central Pub is here for you. They're at 779 Bank Street. You can also check out the Glebe Central Pub shuttle to and from Ottawa Senators games. You can get your tickets online, glebecentralpub.com, and go an hour and 15 minutes before the game. The pub shuttle will take you right to the CTC and drive you right back home afterwards to the pub 15 minutes after the game. So just meet them right outside. They've got the full schedule online at glebecentralpub.com. So go where the vibes are free. Go to the GCP and tell them that Locked On Senators sent you. And on game days, you'll get 10% off your bill just by being a listener of Locked On Sens. The vibes are free at the GCP. Visit them at 779 Bank Street. And we'll see you next time at the GCP.
This episode is also brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same place where you place your bets. I know the boys are loving the green numbers in their FanDuel accounts tonight, and you can do the same all on the Locked On Podcast Network's trusted online sportsbook. It's FanDuel. Get started today with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com.
Here, Mitchie, here. Spiegler and Lord Donklord point out that it would take 14.7 Adam Gaudettes, more than an entire forward core, to get to Mitch Marner's salary this season. Thanks for having some fun with that. Buck points out the Senators rank 4th in the National Hockey League in expected goals against per 60 minutes at 5-on-5. That's what we're dealing with here, fellas. The Ottawa Senators are finding ways to shut things down defensively, and it's allowing them to get results like they did tonight. A 3-0 shutout win over the Toronto Maple Leafs. And to look at some of the numbers in this game, and Pillsy, I just want your overall thoughts of what you saw from these numbers. The shots on goal, Ottawa with 41 and the Maple Leafs with 27. But even that is a little bit off kilter, because the Leafs did outshoot the Senators 9-6 in the third period. The Leafs had 18 shots through 2. The Senators had 18 shots in the second period. The power play, 0 for 3 for Ottawa, 0 for 4 for Toronto. The Leafs win the face-off battle, 53.7%. Ottawa outblocks the Leafs 16-14. The hits tied at 15. And Pilsy, the expected goals percentage at 5-on-5. Can you read that to me? I need to hear it.
Ottawa Senators with 74.5%, while the Toronto Maple Leafs sit at 25.5%. I mean, that is an insanely lopsided advanced analytic for you right there. And the Ottawa Senators just you could tell they wanted this game more. Right off the hop, they're faster. They're playing harder. They're winning those board battles. They're forechecking hard. They're turning pucks over. I mean, Artem Zub with a great turnover on Nylander in the Sens D zone, and that gets the rush going. Claude Giroux brings it down. And, of course, when you're with Josh Norris, given the puck, let Noof fire that biscuit, and he beats Stolarz to get it going 41 seconds in. And that was nice to get that first one, Martian. I don't know about you, but in the Battle of Ontario, I always want to be the one to get on the board first. It just gives you a little bit of a sigh of relief.
Yeah, getting on the board first is huge for momentum in the Battle of Ontario. But I just look at like that shots on goal total. Through the first period, the Sens were firing the puck. It was like 17-9 after the first period in shots. And Stolarz was playing well. And the thing is, the Sens didn't hesitate to continue to shoot the puck and wear this big boy down, because he's a big goalie. He's going to get tired if you keep him moving, you keep him going, and you just keep testing him, right, over and over and over again. And the amount of skill the Sens have, that's the way they should play to have success. You know, you keep shooting the puck, you're going to get your chances, and then somebody's going to eat eventually. And of course, Josh Norris, the guy who's put on earth to score goals, is going to bury that one every time. You give him a shot like that, he's not going to miss most often. So good for him, and great start for the team. And you know, honestly, it's just like the kind of game they need to play to keep things rolling here for the old Ottawa Senators. So we're happy about it.
The game started quick for the Sens. They get a goal 41 seconds in. Just a little turnover. Zub to Giroux finds Josh Norris. He walked in and made absolutely no mistake. His 6th goal of the season. And going into the Boston game, he was sitting on 0 road goals, and now he scored in back-to-back games. Josh Norris gets his 6th. Artem Zub with his first point of the season, and he doubled it up later in the second period. The second started pretty quick, 3 minutes in. Tim Stützle, 7th of the year. Drake Batherson and Thomas Chabot, the assist there. And then Amadio's goal assisted by Artem Zub. I texted Dean Brown after, because he made note once Amadio scored his first goal of the season. Yeah. I said, I think you might know what you're talking about sometimes. And he wrote back, blind squirrel, he said. So Dean Brown is taking no credit for the Amadio heater.
That's so funny, dude. Yeah, that was a great call by Dean, because he goes, this guy's got more to give. And I called him out earlier in the season as well, as just a guy who just needs to maybe start just producing a little bit more with the amount of ice time he gets offensively and things like that. So great to see Amadio just like finishing his odd chance here and there. That's all we need him to do. It doesn't need to come that often, but you know, 2 through whatever it is, 13 games, it's we'll take it. 14.
And a crazy similar goal to his one in Boston, like the short side glove. This one is a bit more tucked under Stolarz's glove, but Stolarz was great, but I felt like every shot from the Sens went in the same area, just 14 inches above his pad, when that right awkward area for a goalie. That's right where shooters. It's a goal scorer's goal. It looks nice when it goes bar down, but on a big boy like Stolarz, 6'6", you got to get it 14 inches above the pad. And all 3 goals, it looked like they were.
Well, I'm glad you say that, because Jason commented on Instagram, LockedOn.Senators, saying, I saw Amadio score over 50 goals in the OHL with the battalion. Guy can score. Just give him some time. And he was onto it too. A goal scorer's goal, like you said, Jack.
Whew. Yeah, I mean, you can't put in 50 in any league. You know where to put it. So that's great stuff from Michael Amadio. He's a big dog too. You know, he dogs pucks, and he's turning it over nicely for the team. So everything's turning up Amadio here.
Hilty, should we get some Sens Central standouts presented by the Glebe Central Pub? I think we've covered how this game really became blowout-esque in the second period after those 2 quick goals. It really felt like the crowd was out of it. Everybody wanted to go home, get a good night's sleep so they could put their shirt and tie on, walk down to Bay Street and punch the clock for another day of being a Toronto Maple Leafs fan. Sorry about that, eh?
Sorry.
Senators win their 4th straight game in the Scotiabank Library. 4 straight wins on the road in Toronto. That's lovely to see. Also great to see the Senators get to 500 in the month of November, right when it was starting to get away from us. 1-3 in their first 4 games. You needed a few big outings, and now coming home to play the Philadelphia Flyers, you got to be feeling pretty good about what you've seen if you're a Senators fan. Jack, lead us off. Your number one Sens Central standout in tonight's game.
All right, there's so many. Like whoever I don't end up picking, you guys can have. But I'm going low hanging fruit here. I'm going with Tim Stützle.
Okay.
I think that second goal was just class, but his play is just different this year for me, man. He's hitting everything that moves. I think Travis Green, or maybe it's Alfie, Mike Yeo, whoever's on the bench, they're getting in his head in a good way. It's working. And this kid is 22 years old. He's a beast. What is he, like 6'1", 6'2"? The skill that he shows, we know that. We've seen that from Tim Stützle for years. This is 5th season, if you can believe that. But this looks like a different player that we're seeing. I think it's easier to count the games that he hasn't been the best player on the ice than the games that he has been. He was a stud tonight. And I know that we've ragged on Mitch Marner. Nylander was a ghost. Tavares was nowhere to be seen.
Marner did play in this game.
You could have convinced me that Austin Matthews was playing the way the Leafs were playing, and I wouldn't have known, because that's how good the Sens were. But my point is, Tim Stützle was the best player on the ice tonight, in my opinion. I think, yeah. And my point is, I guess, overall this season, it's felt like he's been the best player on the ice in a lot of games, and they've played some very good teams so far. So I'm really liking what I'm seeing out of 18, because, this whole rebuild that they went on, right? It's you tank for these draft picks, and he's their highest draft pick that they got, and it's kind of, when you're on the upswing in the rebuild, like how much can these guys develop? Like how much of a star can Tim Stützle become? And I think that he's starting to turn the corner of just being an elite player into becoming Timmy Superstar, like we've dubbed him for a few years now. So tonight was a big statement game from him, just all over the ice. He looked great.
And he's
20th
point.
And he's point of the season for Timmy tonight.
And his 300th game. We shouldn't go without mentioning that either. But he's doing it as well with that big ass shiner on his face as well, right? He's skating around there looking like a real hockey player. This shiner has peaked tonight.
It's insane.
It is huge.
He had like green. It was yellow. It was yellow. It was just. Oh.
And then his whole eyeball is just bloodshot red.
Oh yeah,
it's nuts.
It's a mess. Like that's one of the hardest shiners you ever see, and especially because the impact came above his eye, everything's gonna just start leaking down more and more and more. That's a hell of a shiner. And Jack, I really like what you were saying about Timmy just like coming into his own all of a sudden. He's it's his 4th year now in the league, and he is becoming a bit more of a man. 5th. Is it his 5th more? Is this 5th year?
Isn't that crazy?
I mean, time is flying. That was literally just me spitballing. But yeah, dude, 5th year in the league. He's starting to become a man. He's putting on a little bit more weight. That's when it starts happening for guys. I remember, and it's very similar. It's so funny in Ottawa, another guy who wore number 18 in this town, and Marian Hossa did the same exact thing. He was a skinny runt. He was dubbed the diver. He was all hands, no finish. And next thing you know, he becomes a man. He puts on some weight. He's not getting bodied around as easily. He's starting to throw it around a little bit himself. His defensive game improves. And all of a sudden, you've got a really well-rounded first-line centerman. And it's like, for Hossa, a different story. But that's a Hall of Famer. So you can't really go there yet with Timmy. But he's developing into a really, really strong hockey player. So, Jack, really nice Central standout there from you.
And you just look, and it's every facet of the game. And I love that breakdown from you there, Martian. So I'll leave it at that and hand it off to Pilsy for the second Sens Central standout.
All right. Well, it's a hashtag goalie friendly show. I got the number 35 road Linus Ullmark jersey behind me. His first shutout as an Ottawa Senator up against the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's how you endear yourself to the fans of the nation's capital. Linus Ullmark is my Sens Central standout. We already got into a little bit, not the most busy night for him, 27 shots, but 27 saves for 100% save percentage, 0 goals against average. You love to see that.
What's the goal horn sound like in Toronto?
I think it's the same as Utah Hockey Club.
Yeah.
Whatever that sounds like.
In Morse code.
But yeah, the Ottawa Senators needed a game like this from Ullmark. Who would have thought 15 games into the season, the Sens would have 3 shutouts already? Like, the goaltending certainly is not the issues and the black cloud over this franchise that it had been in the past. I'm so happy for Linus Ullmark, so he is my Sens Central standout.
Hey, boys, you know who else had their first shutout as a Senator in Toronto? Craig Anderson in 2011. Now, Anderson had to make 47 saves, not 27. And just another thing that those two have in common. All right, Martian, I'll be so generous as the host here, and
What a
I'll go
gracious
last. Who's your
Wow,
standout?
Yeah, that's great. And I'm going to go with the only Ottawa Center with a multi-point night tonight, and that is an unsuspecting character in Artem Zub.
Zuby!
I mean, Zub, man, like it's essentially a piggyback off of Linus Ullmark as Brandon's standout here tonight, because he was, the main reason you probably didn't notice Mitch Marner tonight is because this guy, number 2, was shadowing him like you wouldn't believe. 2 block shots tonight from old Zub, and the 2 assists as well. He's getting on the score sheet, so that's what we like to see from Artem Zub. He's doing his thing out there. 21-41 on ice. He was third in defenseman in time on ice. There's 2 other defensemen who had great games as well. But you can't leave off Zub when he gets a 2-point night in there. So I'm gonna go with Artem Zub for this one. He was only credited with 1 hit, but I feel like he had more than that. That's probably just the Toronto. The Toronto box keeper just making sure that Zub's held off the old hitting board. But it was a good game from Artem Zub. So it's good to see him back in the mix after a long period off, and he's a couple games in now, and he's elevating a guy like Jake Sanderson as well. So for Artem Zub, I think that's a really good first pairing game.
I love that call. And look at Jake Sanderson, +2 tonight, 3 shots, 3 blocks as well.
That.
So, not my standout, but obviously those 2 have been able to get that chemistry back like we wondered if they could after a couple tough games from Sanderson and Zub since Zub came back from injuries. I'm going to make you wait 1 more minute for our SENS Central standout roundup. Let us know in the comments who's still on the board. I've already got mine picked, but first, Pilsy's got a word from one of our favorite sponsors.
Yes, it's Select Quotes. Their licensed insurance agents are the perfect teammate when you're shopping for customized, affordable life insurance. They can help you find the right policy to keep your financial legacy safely in your family's end zone. Select Quote is one of America's leading insurance brokers with nearly 40 years of experience helping 2 million customers since 1985. If you're in good health, they work with carriers that could get you same-day coverage for up to $5 million, no medical exam required. Head to selectquote.com and a licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and your budget. Select Quote, they shop, you save. Get the right insurance for you for less at selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. Go to selectquote.com/lockedonnhl today to get started. That's selectquote.com/lockedonnhl. Check it out today, guys. Select Quote.
Welcome back. It is the Postcast. I'm Ross Levitan. We got Brandon Pillar at Lalime's Martian and Jack Richardson with us with 770 of our favorite citizens after a 3-0 Ottawa win over the Toronto Maple Leafs. You can find all of our descriptions on Twitter in the segment below. And I want in the chat for everyone to tag your favorite Leafs fan tweet from tonight, and we'll pull up our favorites at the end of today's show. Now, this is a stressful spot for me because we're not going to swing around twice. We can't have 8 standouts out of 18 players. Like, am I right with that?
I don't think so. Yeah, not this time.
It's too much. It's too much.
That's a lot. That's a lot. There's a lot to talk about. We can get into other guys, but yeah.
Definitely, but we can't swing it around twice. So who is going to get up onto that pedestal to join Linus Ullmark, to join Tim Stützle and Artem Zub in this game? The answer is a player with the 6th most career active points against the Toronto Maple Leafs. I thought Claude Giroux was awesome tonight. He was making simple plays. He was getting his teammates involved. Like, did I not realize in the first 2 years of him with Ottawa, like, has he gotten even better at penalty killing? It feels like he's always out challenging, being aggressive at the first guy, and he just intercepts so many pucks. I feel like every time it's a forward that clears the zone, it's 90% of the time Claude Giroux. Love what I'm seeing from him. He's had some games where you wonder about the age, And then he'll put on a performance like this, and you're like, no, G is timeless. He's still got it. So let me even check the actual stats. I was going off eye test for this one.
Hockey sense, right? Ross, his hockey sense is unbelievable. So like it's gonna outlast his brain is gonna outlast his body, and that's gonna go a long way for him.
+2, 1 assist, 4 shots on goal, 55% in the dot, and in those faceoffs, just gave the Senators a ton of possession they needed. And shout out to the NHL stats page for not opening up the faceoff chart. Okay, where should we go from here? Can I actually get my Mitch Marner stat of the day?
Yeah, let's hear it.
When he was on the ice, the Ottawa Senators had, was it 90? Oh, yeah, it's pretty close to 90.
90.
Six stats so far.
90% of the expected goals when Mitch Marner was on the ice. Yeah, he was sitting at 10.5. And in terms of actual expected goals, 0.07 for Mitch Marner. And you think that's bad.
Well, that's
nice, actually fifth worst on the team. There were 4 guys who were even worse than that. The Leafs just had absolutely no jump, no energy. They lost every single battle. Like the only physical confrontation in the game was the 2 Winnipeggers, Ryan Reeves and Travis Hamonic, had one little back and forth in the first period where
Brady and Reeves got into it a little bit at the start, but yeah, not a whole lot of chippiness here.
I forget who it was. Someone tweeted out that Ryan Reeves was the most noticeable Leafs player tonight, and that's indicative of how the night was going for them.
Yep.
I found that really funny. I don't know who it was, but it was true. And I don't know. I mean, the only thing the Leafs did that was noteworthy was Oliver Ekman-Larsson pinning Pinto to the ground after Stolar set a pick on him. That was the only thing they did.
That was crazy. If that was a 1-goal game, I would have actually snapped if that was going to be 5-on-5 or 4-on-4.
Yeah, how's that 4-on-4? But hey, shout out Pinner. He's on the ground, face shoved against the ice. He's like, I'm not going down without swinging. Grabs OEL's helmet, pops it off, and starts feeding him a couple while he's down on the ice. So you gotta love that. Pinto on his birthday as well. So good to see him back in the game.
Hates his birthday. If you heard his media availability yesterday. He's like, I'm getting old. I hate my birthday. It's like, buddy, you just turned 24.
Settle down.
How many birthdays do you remember?
And also relax. With a face like that, you should be wanting all the attention you can get. Like it's coming to you natural anyways. You should be used to it. It's no problem. Just embrace that.
We'll get to the Ottawa Senators hockey stat card tonight, but what we witnessed tonight with the Toronto Maple Leafs is nothing short of extraordinary. You pray for nights like this. Even if they weren't playing the Sens, I'd want to see the Leafs hockey stat card in terms of impact on the game. Look how far they had to move the median to the right to compensate for Oliver Ekman-Larsson and to a lesser extent Morgan Rielly being incomprehensibly out of this universe bad in this game, which is why I replied and saying, so that's why OEL snapped at the end. LMAO. He didn't know where else to go.
Ross,
he can't hide.
I don't know if this is going to be a correlation to this graph specifically, because I don't really actually know how this graph works at all. But I'm willing to bet those 2 guys were playing against Tim Stützle tonight.
The top pair, probably, yeah.
Yeah, I think Morgan Rielly and Oliver Ekman-Larsson were paired up against Tim Stützle, and they just got outmatched and outmanned. He was a dog tonight, all over the puck, and I think it's more a credit to Tim than it is detriment to those 2 players.
Boys, this is kind of a good thing. I can circle it back to the Sens forward group now. After they've switched Norris and Stützle, if you're an opposing coach, I think the Leafs, maybe Tanev and McCabe is their other top pairing. That would, I think, be more their shutdown guy. But who are you matching them up against on home ice? I'm assuming I guess they played against Tkachuk and Norris. I don't know how it actually worked out, but
yeah, it must have been, because I'm looking at 5-on-5 right now, and when Tim Stützle, Claude Giroux, and Drake Batherson were on the ice, in 8 minutes and 34 seconds, they had 21 shot attempts for and only 5 against.
That's bananas. It's bananas. But I guess my point is, the Sens, I'm not saying they have 2 first lines, but you've got Brady Tkachuk, who's a handful on one line. Then you have Stützle on the other. Like, splitting those guys up, I think they're at the point now where you can do that. That's what elite teams do. You split up your 2 best players, and you effectively have 2 top lines that you need to match up against. It's not easy. And I think you saw that tonight. You saw it against the Bruins. And I think on the road, especially, that's going to be huge if they can keep that momentum going with those two top lines, because we didn't even mention Drake Batherson. I thought he was a monster tonight, just moving his feet. He looks like an absolute, like a true power forward. And I think his complement to that line with Stützle and Giroux is massive too. So really exciting what you're seeing from that top six right now for Ottawa.
I can't get over what I'm reading right now. Forget expected goals, expected that. When the line of Stützle, Giroux, Batherson was on the ice, the Senators had 14 shots on goal. No other line for either team had more than 5, and they had 14.
Wow.
And 3 shots against in 8.5 minutes. Like, this was as dominant of a performance of one line as I think we've seen all year, and it is, of course, reflected. That's why I like these. They do match the eye test pretty evenly here. The Zub-Sanderson pair, Giroux third on this list. The only real player that didn't have a good game, and the fourth line, I guess, didn't do much in general, but the first penalty, bogus. I give Nick Cousins a pass on that. Second one, he can't be doing that at the defensive blue line. So 4 PIMs at the end of the day for Cousins, and they didn't get a whole lot of ice other than that.
Yeah, I think with Cousins, it's like I wasn't expecting him to be like a big stick infraction guy. I thought it was going to be more of like roughings and like after the whistle kind of rat stuff that would end up with him in the box more often than not. And usually when he's doing that kind of thing, he's bringing a guy with him. But that last penalty at the end of the first period was not a good penalty at all. And the first one, we'll give him a pass on that one because that was just, in my opinion, and Ross, you said it earlier, it was a bad call. But that second one, dude, you can't just be shoving your stick in a guy's skates when he's doing a crossover and expect to not get a penalty there. So he needs to control the stick a little better. And I think I think Nick Cousins needs to maybe step it up a little bit as that fourth line rat rather than being a bit of a liability to the team. And, it's bygones be bygones after a game like tonight. There's really no losers tonight, but for Nick Cousins, he should be a little bit more clean out there as a veteran.
Pills, I would say the exact same thing about Brady's delay of game penalty. If that's a 1-goal game late in February, March, and Ottawa's in a run, you might have an issue with it. Cross ice over the bench. But hey, you won the game 3-0.
I mean, nice distance on that one, Brady. But yeah, not what we're trying to do. I want to talk about, look at the top of this. Artem Zub and Jake Sanderson. All 737 Sens fans in the chat can breathe a sigh of relief. Our top pair is back to doing what we need them to do. And I thought both of them looked great tonight. Martian, you mentioned with your standout. Sandy still had a couple questionable passes, in my opinion, but I thought defensively he was a lot better, and he did have some good shots. So that's what we need to see from Sanderson and Zub. And with Jensen and Chabot right there, only Giroux separating them, having a top 4 like this is something we have not seen in I don't even know how long. So this is a beautiful sight.
Martian, are we worried at all about Thomas Chabot's wrist?
I'm not actually sure what play you're talking about. I don't think so.
Yeah, did something happen?
It looked like he jammed it a little bit. Jack, you saw that, hey?
Oh, no.
Yeah, and then they showed it on the broadcast, and he was in pain on the bench, and it was his left wrist.
Left wrist, but he went right back out there for the PK.
He did, but then I noticed him kind of like not laboring, but I was watching him. Every time I do it now with Josh Norris every shift. I'm looking at him like a hawk. If he's going in for a hit, I'm just watching if he's laboring a little bit. But with Chabot, I did it a bit too, and maybe he was holding, not using both hands on his stick as much as I thought, but I'm probably just overanalyzing. I think he's okay. The fact that he went back out there in a 3-0 game is a good sign. I'm glad you brought up, though, the PK. They looked pretty good. The Leafs power play was clicking coming into tonight, and I know they had nothing overall in the game, and it's probably indicative of how they were this evening, but like the penalty kill for the Sens looked great. And I like also, you mentioned Giroux with your standout there, Ross, how he's getting better defensively, or it looks like he is anyway. The Sens with DJ Smith used to do this with him and Norris. They'd used to send them out on the penalty kill for the faceoff, and then they'd get off right away. And it blew my mind because sometimes you get Giroux stuck out there if he lost it, and then he's not really a PK guy. So what are you doing? So I like that they're just throwing them out. Get your top guys out there on the penalty kill. Creates a bit of a threat, shorthanded too sometimes. I think Norris and Giroux have done a nice job for the forwards up there. And then Thomas Chabot killing penalties is not something I expected to be talking about 15 games into the season. And look at him. He's great out there. He's doing a good job.
And it allows you to keep your pairs together. There's no mixing and matching, and then one guy's a bit gassed when they go out there. You're just rolling your top four. Zub, Sandy, get out there. Jensen, Shabbat. I know you mentioned in your Intermartian, Cam, but holy shit, I didn't realize the player we were getting in Nick Jensen. What an absolute stud and the perfect fit for this team. Right place, right time for Nick Jensen, hey?
Yeah, and I might do a little bit of a repeat of what I said on the Intermartian there when I had Biz Nasty on. He was grilling me about Thomas Shabbat and what's going on with this guy. But for
he
me,
nailed his Chikrin breakdown though.
For sure, yeah. So that's kind of what I'm going to get into a little bit here. Is Jacob Chikrin he's a great player. Let's not be wrong. Like, he fits well on Washington, and he's doing great over there. We're happy for him on that. But you give up him, and you end up getting a guy like Jensen back. First of all, he's a right-handed shot, which is the perfect fit. And then he matches up with Thomas Shabbat, right? After you already have the Zub, you got the Sanderson. Now you look at that second pair, and it was always important for Shabbat to have a good partner, which is something he's never had. And it's now elevating him as a player. And you find people less and less talking smack about Thomas Shabbat because he's not doing this and he's not doing that. Meanwhile, this guy's been playing 30 minutes for our team for the last 8-9 years now. This guy's been an absolute mule. He's like a rented mule, boys. We've been beating this horse over and over again, and this guy's given us miles and miles and miles and miles, and he's underappreciated. And finally, you get a guy like Nick Jensen in here, who's a solid NHL veteran, who can come in and do his job and give Shabbat the stability he needs to do his thing. And it's going to just make them both look better. And that's all they're doing out there right now. They're just both playing their own game. They're communicating well, and they're taking control, and they're breaking the puck out, and they're laughing. And it's fun to watch. And if you go to a game live and you're sitting low in that zone and you watch Nick Jensen, he is talking the entire time. And I think that a guy like Shabbat really responds well to good communication. As a French Canadian guy, they love to beat themselves. So they like to hear it. They like to know what's going on. It helps. And I think it's working really well.
Love what Kara adds in here. The word "sen" is in his name for a reason. Pilsy, what made him sell his play to you? Because I know of all of us here, you took the longest to dive headfirst into the Nick Jensen experience.
He's just such a good all-around player. Like, he's good defensively. He plays a chippy physical game. Like, he's not someone that I'm just kind of expecting to lose battles against the boards. He plays hard. He is able to skate when he gets the puck and he gets a bit of space. He's got some wheels on him, and we've even seen him with a couple nice dangles from time to time as well. And he's a player that just allows Shabbat to not feel like he has to do it all, that he's anchored down by another partner. And it's so clutch that he's a good partner for Thomas Shabbat, because I think some of us, and you guys can tell me if you were in this category, we're thinking, okay, now that Jensen's here, we got to get Artem Zub back with Thomas Shabbat so that Shabbat has a solid partner, and Sanderson can play with whoever, so Jensen can play with Sanderson. But keeping Artem Zub and Sanderson together was so clutch. So the fact that Jensen and Shabbat are a really good second pair just makes this whole team work the way it needs to. It's kind of like up front when you have Timmy, Norris, and Pinto, another win for that stat, might I add, the 30th one. It just, everything else lines up nicely. And it's the same on the defense. If you get Zuba, Sanderson, and Shabbat with the partner he likes, the whole thing just sets up the way that Steve Staios wants this team to look on the ice.
Yeah, and then you look at that third pairing now, all of a sudden, you have...
They're looking good too. Well, yeah.
Tyler Cleveney's looking great, and Travis Hamonic didn't look bad again tonight, but if you want to talk about chemistry, I do still think that Jacob Bernard-Docker is probably the play for that third pairing, especially, obviously, I mean, this goes without saying, but in the long run, that should be the guy there, depending on what if
they're not going to change it up after going on another win, though. Like, I think JVD, unfortunately, he's going to have to wait till there's 1 or 2 losses in a row for Travis Green to decide to change things.
Yeah, you don't think he's going to play till Christmas, Billsy?
I mean, if it means keeping JBD out of the lineup for the Sens to win from now till Christmas, that is a sacrifice I'm willing to make.
You never know though. Like if they get hot, I know I'm saying if, but good teams change a winning lineup every now and then. And if it's your 7th and 6th defenseman swapping in and out every now and then, I don't see a reason why they can't do it. Like, would you be surprised if JBD's in on Thursday against Philadelphia? I wouldn't be. But really, like, I don't know. I mean, Hamonick's playing well, but
coaching staff is so like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, and they're always going to rely on the veteran.
I guess my point, Pilsy, is I don't know if they are. Like, this is a brand new staff, and I know that it's been a decent sample size now, but they've kind of been back and forth, wins, losses. It's hard to tell.
I'm with Jack on this. I wouldn't be surprised if you see JBD get slipped in against Philly. I think
I hope
it feels
so,
like a good
don't
spot to do it.
Yeah,
I do think Hamonick.
I think
Hamonick did look good tonight.
They try to keep him warm, keep the body warm, let him get his reps every now and then. It's a little bit like a backup goalie situation with that 6th defenseman.
That being said, I think Hamonick and Clevin got a good matchup game tonight, just in the sense that they're playing against the Leafs bottom 6, which has absolutely nothing. So you're not really concerned about that. When you're playing a team like, who did he struggle against the other night? Even Boston, really? Like Boston's got probably a better bottom 6 than the Leafs do. So no, but really no concerns over the line. I think Tyler Cleven's looked great. The fact that he's not a concern for anyone, really, it's not even a question. Like they need to address the bottom pair. It's more of a conversation about Hamonick versus JBD. Cleven's just solidified as the 5th defenseman. But again, I think it's Nolan Bumgardner running that blue. Like we got Jack Capuano for 5 years. That's a long time with one guy running the D, even though it was DJ Smith, but the staff in general, it's a brand new coaching staff for the Sens. It's really exciting seeing what, depth guys are looking like now, like Shabbat, and not that he's a depth guy, but just other players than the top players looking and how they look under a new coach after seeing them under the same staff for so long. It's really fun to watch.
Senators win 3-0 tonight over the Leafs in Toronto. Martian, go ahead.
No, I was just going to really quickly jump on that point just with Clevin. I was just going to say, when was the last time you saw him make an egregious mistake where you go, oh, Clevin, like, what are you doing out there? He just, you don't notice him almost, which is perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, we're loving Tyler Cleven's play. And I think at the start of the year, it looked like maybe it was too much too soon for Clevin. And then we even started talking like, hey, do the Sens look at an insurance veteran defenseman just in case, find a guy on a cheap minimum deal? But the Sens, Steve Stamkos knows puck. He just said, hey, we're going to wait up. We're going to hold up here. Our whole plan all off season long was Tyler Cleven's the guy. We're not even going to get insurance guys. Like, sure, they pick up some AHL guys that if need be could jump up and play a couple games, but they didn't get that 7th left shot defenseman that could plug and play like they have on the right side between JBD and Hamonick. So clearly this front office and coaching staff have seen what they like in Tyler Clevin rather, and they've been able to give him time to work through some of the kinks, and he's looked great ever since.
No else has looked great. Travis Green is head coach of this team, pressing all the right buttons, especially tonight. He goes up against the guy that a lot of Sens fans, ourselves included, had at the top of the wish list this summer. Craig Berube was out coached tonight by Travis Green. Now, a part of that is his players are historically soft, don't battle, lost every single one tonight. But isn't it on the coach to kind of get the guys ready to go? Sens were ready to go here on the road, and their leader had 7 hits, Brady Tkachuk. And they just brought it, especially in the first period. Like, I don't know. I'm giving a ton of credit to Travis Green for the job tonight and on the road against Boston, where that strategy, whatever the plan was, held the Bruins to 1 shot in the last 25 minutes of the game. Am I out to lunch? Because I know we did the credit pie, Martian, where it's like at least 50% for the players. But, man, Travis Green deserves a ton of credit. I'm actually checking right now where his Jack Adams odds are versus at the start of the year, where we had our eyebrows raised because he was 2nd behind Sheldon Keefe. And now, after the performance tonight, he's sitting, not even in the top 7. 8th overall, plus 2,000 right now. I think that's pretty good value. He was plus 800 preseason.
Great value. Yeah, no, he's got the boys ready to go. I don't know. I think Jack had something to say on this one for sure. But like I agree. I think Travis Green has this team ready to rock. every night. You know, they're just look a little bit different, right? That's all it is. But Jack, I don't know. I thought you were going to jump in there.
I'm just going to keep ragging on the old coaching staff. You get so used to them, watching them for years, right? As fans, but what I like about Travis Green is he gives it to the ref. He lets them know when there's a bad call. And there were a few tonight, and you can see him on the bench just barking and swearing and saying stuff. Like, the broadcast shows it every time. DJ Smith never did that for as intense of a coach and the style that he wanted to bring. He never said a thing to the ref. And it bothered the hell out of me, because when you're a player on the bench and you're frustrated about a call, having your coach go nuts sometimes makes you calm down a little bit. That might sound crazy, but there are times, don't get me wrong, where a coach can go a little bit too nuts and it bleeds into the players and then everyone loses their mind. But when a coach goes nuts and kind of then gets his composure again, it can you can leak into the group. And I'm thinking that might be what's happening with the Sens. Like, they had some bad calls against them tonight that could have crippled them, and they didn't let it. And I think Travis Green's response to the calls, again, saying it just sounds silly, but when you just look at the difference of his demeanor on the bench, there's, again, a bigger staff there. There's a clear message. It's defend, hold accountable, all this stuff that seems to be clicking right now against really good teams. I'm happy with what I'm seeing. It's not just him swearing at the refs, but just the short shifts, like everything that we've seen so far in these 15, they've played 15, right? Is
15,
it 15,
8-7. Let's go.
Okay. In these 15 games just feels different in a similar way, though, because we knew these guys were capable of it. It's just kind of getting it more consistently now, because we've seen where the bar is, and they've set it pretty high so far.
Yeah.
Is this the latest? Sorry to cut you off, Pilsy, but I just need an answer to this. Chat, please help me. Is this the latest in the season that they've been above 500 since 2017?
Gotta be.
I'd love the chat to help me out.
They were 11-11 last year. I don't know if they ever got
above 500.
I know, but I don't know. Like,
there's no way. That would.
Dude, November has killed this team.
I don't think that's crazy.
But even the year it all fell apart when they went to Sweden, the Duchesne trade, they must have been better than 8-7 that year. No,
they had a ton of loser points when they went over there. Now, maybe when they came back, but that's still 2017. That's November 2017.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
When they got back from those two games, it was game 16 of the season. So get this, they were 8-3-5. So they only had 3 regulation losses, but they won 8 out of 16 games. So they were 500. Come on.
Oh man, that's crazy.
They were a faulty 500 that year. But maybe somebody has a different year later on than that.
Every 2 overtime losses counts as a win to beat off to 500.
Yeah, that's fair. I like that.
So
8-3-5 was the last time, because then they came back and they lost the next.
Oh, it was atrocious when they came back.
This was like 12 or 13
let's not look back, boys.
Yeah, we don't need to get into that.
I like that. Yeah, let's look forward. What are we thinking about Philly on Thursday? Let's do a quick. I know you guys will do a preview, but
1-10-2. Yeah, yikes. Jack, Philly.
Are we worried? Game. I was gonna say, are we worried about a bit of a letdown?
No, dude. We can't have trap games after build-up games.
That's what a trap game is.
When trap games happen. That's literally a trap game.
We can't. We got to cut those out.
Well, yeah. They can't fall into the trap, but it can still be called a trap game, because then it's Carolina on Saturday. Like, they could go 3-1 in this stretch, beat Carolina, and lose to Philly.
Boys,
I wouldn't be shocked.
No chance. I
can't beat the Hurricanes.
Carolina game's a scheduled loss. That is the type of postcast where if they win, it's ultimate vibe cat.
Ross is out of there.
I just got the invite to go to Thursday's game, possibly, from our good boy Kevin Lee on Twitter. You guys would know him as @BringBackLee. He just tossed me the invite. So if I'm boots on the ground this season, I'm hot. I'm 4-1 on boots on the ground in the regular season here, boys. Yes. We got to get me in the building here. I'm gonna go in. I'm gonna check it out, and I think the Sens are gonna come away with a W here.
Oh, thank you for your service. That's really big of you to go to the game on behalf of the Postcast.
My pleasure.
He's a good man.
All right. Should we get to some post-game audio or some final thoughts? How do you want to play this? I got Tim STÜTZLE and Linus Ullmark if you'd like.
I would love a little Timmy, and then maybe if you can get Coach Green, I'd love to hear Coach Green tonight. But other than that,
they're making us wait for Coach Green. They're saying, here's Linus Ullmark, here's Tim Stützle, here's Noah Gregor doing a little media revenge game for him. Wonder if he put up any money on the board.
I think we can skip Linus. I find he gets a little long-winded at times, and he's great. He's
very
great.
philosophical. Very
philosophical.
we
don't.
Yeah.
Linus is where we'll point you. We'll point you to the Sens website for Linus Ullmark. It is Linus is 5 minutes and 10 seconds post game.
Not surprised.
Dude, coaches are like 2.5. Timmy's just okay. Timmy's 3 minutes.
I love it.
We got time for Timmy. Does the chat want to hear Timmy before we go?
As long as he does his patented, and Timmy's getting really good at the delivery of this. When people ask him how his eye is, he nails the delivery, being like, "It's good."
Look at his eye before we click play.
The cyborg.
This is the Ottawa Senators superstar right here. Look at this.
How is he okay? Like that's so much red, man.
He's not okay. Like he's battling through that.
Oh,
superstar Tim Stützle.
Yeah, 100%. I think all four lines were great. Our deep parents were great. Gave them no room, and that's the way we got to play if we want to win more games.
It's one thing to impose yourself on any team. How does it feel to know that not only did you get a win over the Leafs, but you're able to impose your game plan on them the entire night?
I think we, like I said multiple times this year, I'm really confident in our group. I think we can beat any team, and especially if we play that way, I think we're really hard to play against. And Oli, great game by him, and kept us in the game. I'm just really happy the way we played and the team effort we get tonight.
What's what you about Linus since he's joined this group?
I think just his leadership role too. If he's playing or not, he always got a voice in the room, and we know how good of a goalie he is at just finding his groove, and I think he's finding it every game he's playing. And it's just fun to watch if you have a guy like him who folds you back there and make it easy for you. And just the hockey he gives in the room is special.
This group hasn't had the successes we wanted to the last number of years. What's the feeling? Does it feel different around here this season?
Yeah, 100%. I think all of our guys came in a different mindset this year. Obviously, you're always trying to win, but you don't want to understand what it takes in the NHL to win when you're that young. And I think we have it this year. We know what we got to do. We know the way we got to play, and I think we showed it multiple times this year.
What did you see on your goal?
I think our line was playing really good tonight. Had a lot of balls on time, a lot of looks. I think Drake could have had 2 or 3 there. And we just stuck with it, and great play by him to give it to me, and good finish.
What's the key to being consistent with the style of play for the next game and the game after that?
I think just do it every day. It doesn't matter if you play, if you practice, just try and get better, and that's what we're trying to do. We try and get better every day, and I think you can see that we're practicing really hard. And just if we maybe don't have a game, we don't panic, and we just stick with our game, stick to the process, and I think that's what makes it good.
From where we were all sitting, it looked like you were flying tonight. How did you feel?
What a question.
Did you feel any different?
You were flying.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I felt good tonight. I think
That's our guy.
I was really patient.
Who was that?
And, like I said,
I think he's getting the
our line
Toronto
was really
media.
good tonight.
Like this
Whole line
is
really
Didn't really give him anything,
created a lot, and I think
if we stick to
the game, like I said, every single play team sticks to the game plan makes it easy for us. And,
A little echo there.
I'm really happy, not just myself, the game we played, but
to the process, and I think that's what
makes it good.
From where we were all sitting, it looked like you were flying tonight.
Sorry, I love the way he says fly tonight. We don't have to re-listen to that question here. I'll jump to the next one.
Team sticks to game plan makes it easy for us, and I'm really happy. Not just myself, the game we played, but the game the whole group played tonight.
Tim, you had 18 goals last year, 75 games. This year, 7 already in 15 games. What do you think has changed for you? Is it just better bounces? Do you feel different out there, or what's different right now?
Yeah, I worked really hard this summer. Obviously, I wasn't happy the way I played last year and the way the season finished. So, like I said, I think it's a different mindset this year. Just trying to win as many games as we can. And obviously, it helps when our guys keep scoring. And but like I said, it's not just me. I think it's all 4 lines and all the 6 Ds out there play really hard. And like I said,
Oh, that's a tough cut on Senators.com, but you can go check out the rest of that back and forth. Tim Stützle with the Toronto media, who said he's flying tonight. Martian, that still frame you posted was outrageous of Tim Stützle. People are going to go check that out at Lalime's Martian. Okay, let's get some final thoughts from the boys. Then we'll play Travis Green's audio and get out of here on a victory Tuesday night. Woo! Senators 3-0 shutout of the Toronto Maple Leafs. Martian, I'll start with you.
Yeah, just overall an amazing game from the Sens from start to finish. They came out hot. They scored a couple early goals. They got to a good goalie on the other side. They got to him. They shut down some star players on the other side as well. And then they got off to a great start on, the start of the second period, I think was a really important part of this game. They ended up burying 2 quick ones there. Obviously, the German gets his. He always will. And then Michael Amadio getting his as well. So, and then just finishing it off for the goaltender, Linus Ullmark, getting his first shutout as a Sen. It's not much more you can say than that. It was just a great game from the Sens, start to finish.
Jack, what's going to be your lasting impression of this game when you wake up tomorrow morning?
I think just the sky feels like the limit for the team at the moment. And I know that I'm not getting too crazy. I'm not getting too crazy, but they look good.
We wouldn't say that your head is in the clouds as an expression.
No, and you wouldn't say that I'm feeling the best I've felt as a fan since 2017. I'd never say that. Who would ever say that publicly? I would never say that. No, but the vibe is good around the group. Just following losses, they're not getting in these longer slumps so far. And they look very good against very good hockey teams. I think that's my biggest takeaway. Like, we hate the Leafs. The Leafs are fun to hate, but they're a good team. Like, they make the playoffs every year. They're one of the best teams in the league, top 10 most of the years, even with all the memes and everything. So they look like the better team against them, against Boston, against Tampa for the most part. They beat Florida. Like, they're looking pretty good early on here. So hard to complain as a Sens fan.
Martian, you're going to like this. Linus Ullmark quote per our friend Everyday Sens. He's Tim Stützle. He's our boy, our German fella.
Our German. You got to give it to the German. You got to give him the flowers. You got to give him the puck. Those are the 2 things you got to do for the German every time. Ross, before you kick it over to Pilsy for his final thoughts, I do want to shout out the Movember team. Pilsy's a part of it. You're a part of it. You're moving for Movember. We've got it pumping. I just threw the link in the chat. If people want to go in there and check it out, we've already raised over $1,000 for the team. We're working hard to get to $3,000 is our current goal. We got a stretch goal of $5,000. We're gonna do a big social media push, but if you guys can do that just for men's health, it's important. And especially I think these days, men's health is coming a little bit more to the forefront. And it's okay. It's okay. If you're not feeling perfect, then just talk to your buddies and maybe talk to somebody else maybe if you need to. Right? It's that's the way we are. We're not wired probably to automatically decide to go to talk to somebody about certain issues in your life. But it's fine to do that, and it'll make you feel better, definitely. So I encourage everybody to at least check out our Movember page. But if you're not feeling good, then I hope you do the right things to make yourself feel better, because it's not you can get over everything, so it's okay.
Very well said, Martian. And yeah, I got up at 7 a.m. before going to the office this morning to get out on the bike here in a good cause Movember. The Sens Twitter page, you can find it on our Twitters as well. We'll post a link to that. Pilsy, 3-0 shutout. It's going to be a fun Locked On Senators tomorrow. We got a SENSCENTRAL citizen, and we're recording with stats guy Mike Kelly from Sport Logique. Awesome dude, longtime friend of the show. I think it's his 4th time jumping on with us. What's going to be your feeling looking back at this game tonight?
Well, they're on a 2-game win streak now, which you love to see. And the most important part about that, or at least the part I'm going to emphasize here, 2-game win streak on the road. This team's road woes have been cursing them for so long. Last year it was out east. Last year it was out west. This year it's out east, but they squashed that. And it's not like they had 2 fluky run and gun style wins. They were consistent defensive clinics on 2 teams that have always kind of had given the Sens a hard time. So it's great to see the Ottawa Senators have a great game up against the Bruins and Leafs, and Linus Ullmark was the guy backstopping him to both of those wins. The momentum is massive for the Ottawa Senators right now.
And they'll look to carry it into Thursday night's game against the Philadelphia Flyers. Boys, this has been an awesome postcast, a record number of citizens joining us, and we hope this is just the beginning of an Ottawa Senators push. Maybe a 5-game win streak. Can I get greedy? First, they've got to beat the Philadelphia Flyers, but back-to-back road wins, divisional opponents, Boston, Toronto. We salute you and only give away one loser point tonight. It's in regulation, a 3-0 shutout. All love from the boys here. We'll chat tomorrow on the Locked On Senators podcast, where yesterday we had Mike DiStefano. I will wrap up today's show playing the audio message that I got from Mike DiStefano following tonight's game.
Literally everything I said on the podcast came back to bite me in the ass, including chirping Ullmark.
Great vibes at the end of the show. Make sure you tweet out Mikey_Canuck. Give him some GSGs in his mentions tonight. For all the boys, I say goodbye. Find the description to our Twitter in our bio. Those GSGs in the chat mean a ton to us. We love being able to vent, or most importantly, vibe after a Senators win like tonight. 3-0 the final score. They're 8-7-0 on the season, above 500. Jack Richardson, Lalime's Martian, Brandon Pillar. I'm Ross Levitan. We'll talk tomorrow on the Locked On Senators podcast, your team every day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network.